We do like a circle, inshallah. This is how we remember the old pious predecessors, inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. If you were to ask this question, what is the most important and the most authentic book after the Quran, then you would definitely say it is Sahih al-Bukhari. The ulama have unanimously agreed that the two books, the two authentic books after Quran are Sahih al-Bukhari and Muslim. There is a slight difference of opinion about which one is more authentic, Bukhari or Muslim. The vast majority of our scholars have said it is Sahih al-Bukhari. Sahih al-Bukhari has a wonderful, subhanallah, background that we need to all be aware of, because this constitutes the second most important book in the life of Muslims. And it's very sad, subhanAllah, that everywhere you go and you ask Muslims about Sahih Bukhari, they may not even know a single hadith from it. And I have seen Muslims who told me that they will not even open Sahih Bukhari because they are worried, they are scared that they may find some hadith that they just cannot understand, or that they may find a hadith that will create some conflict in their minds, that it will make them feel bad about Islam. And this is very sad. One of the biggest reasons is that, subhanAllah, the attack on Sahih al-Bukhari has started long time ago, when the enemies of Islam have seen that they, if they can attack the Quran, attack Sahih al-Bukhari, attack Sahih Muslim, then what is left for the Muslims? Of course, the Quran is more difficult to attack, so they started with Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, and they would tell you a hadith that perhaps may sound very difficult for the beginners or those who may not have done any Islamic Sharia studies, and unfortunately it creates a big fitna. I can tell you one of the hadith. Remember this hadith of Dhubab? The hadith is in Sahih al-Bukhari: إذا سقط الذباب في إناء أحدكم فليغمسه فإن تحت إحدى جناحيه داء وتحت إحدى جناحيه دواء. That if it happens that a fly goes on your cup of anything that you drink, and you still need to drink it, then make sure that the fly goes, that you dip the fly entirely in that liquid before you drink it, because under one of the wing is a disease, and under the other wing is a cure. And this hadith, in fact, if you hear it the way they tell it, it's like, what? I don't like to drink the entire thing. And Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never said that you must drink it. He Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, if you need to drink it, then you need to dip that fly, because there might be an issue, there might be a problem. And subhanAllah, the ulama have talked about this, like the biology scholars and the researchers, they have seen those things in reality, that there are some substances under the wings that either create a disease, or they may be a cure for that one disease. So subhanAllah, this is just one of the examples. There are multiple examples in Sahih al-Bukhari, and if you just hear it without explanation, it may create that fitna. And unfortunately, the Orientalists, or some of those who have a huge bad feeling against Islam and Muslims, they would be just targeting those hadith. And the other sad news is that the lack of knowledge that most of the Muslims have is actually creating even a more fitna, because they have no way to understand what's going on, and then if they are being confronted with those ahadith, they will say, oh, okay, yes, it is there in the Bukhari. How could Imam Bukhari do this? And that's why now we have some of the du'at who would say, I don't care about Sahih Bukhari. I have heard it, I have seen it. There are very famous ones, very like big celebrities who started to talk that way, and unfortunately, it's just because they were confronted at the time of their jahiliyyah, when they were so lacking on the knowledge, and they were confronted in front of the media, and they couldn't really utter an answer to the questions or the challenges. So much so that then they were like, okay, if I just cannot justify the hadith, then the easiest way is to what? To attack the book entirely. And that's why we hear now people saying, only take from the Quran, you don't need to take from the hadith. It's very bad and very dangerous when people go that route just because they are jahili, they are ignorant, because they lack the knowledge that is required to understand the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So in today's time, I have an attempt to make you love Sahih al-Bukhari. I hope, inshallah, and I'm sure everyone loves Sahih al-Bukhari, but I want you to love it even more. So let me start with this. What is the name of Sahih al-Bukhari? What is the name of the book itself? Anyone knows? It's not called Sahih al-Bukhari. We call it Sahih al-Bukhari because that's how it is popular with. But what is the real name of the book itself? It's called Al-Jami', Al-Musnad, Al-Sahih, Al-Mukhtasar. من أمور النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وسننه وأيامه. Let's do it again. الجامع, المسند, الصحيح, المختصر من أمور النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وسننه وأيامه. So the meaning of this, Al-Jami' is a book that has all type of subjects. So you're not constrained with a hadith that only talk, for example, about Islamic ruling and Salah or Tahara. It's not about any specific subject, it's everything. So that's Al-Jami'. Jami' it means it compiles everything together in the same book. Al-Musnad, it means that the hadith has the chain from the Imam al-Bukhari all the way to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he rahimahullah, al-Bukhari, Imam al-Bukhari, has narrated those ahadith with their chain. So for example, the very first hadith that he had in Sahih al-Bukhari, he said, حدثنا الحميدي. Al-Humaydi was one of his scholars. So he would say, Imam al-Humaydi has taught us, or has told us. And then he would continue with the remaining of the chain. So Al-Jami', Al-Musnad, Al-Sahih. Al-Sahih means the authentic. Because he, radiallahu anhu, never put any hadith in the Jami' unless it is absolutely 100% authentic. And then Al-Mukhtasar. Al-Mukhtasar means that it is concise. It is actually summarized. It's not like the full thing. It's not all the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then he said, min umuri nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from all the matters of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was sunanihi, and his sunnah. His sunnah means his way of life, his statements, everything that belongs to him. And then وَأَيَّامِهِ, and the days of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So that's the title really. And you can imagine that mashallah, this gives you everything that you need from the hadith al-sahih about him sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And indeed it does. Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala was born in 194 al-Hijrah, and he passed away 256. So how many years he lived? 62 years. 62 years. Guess how long Imam al-Bukhari has spent to compile this hadith, this book, Sahih al-Bukhari? Guess how? 16 years. 16 years of real effort to compile this book. Okay. Guess how many sheikh did he meet in order to learn the hadith and go and travel and get the hadith with their chain, through their chain? How many scholars? 1,000. So he traveled everywhere. He's originally from Bukhara, and Bukhara is in the old Soviet Union countries today. So it's on the east of Iran. And that's where Samarkand is. You know Samarkand? Any English name for Samarkand? I don't know if there's any. Or it is just called Samarkand. Samarkand, okay. So he's from that area. So he was born 194 Hijri. And he spent 16 years compiling a hadith, traveling everywhere in the Muslim world. Mecca, Medina, Al-Kufa, Al-Basra, Damascus, everywhere in that he was able to find the scholars. And guess how many ahadith he compiled originally before he selected the hadith in Sahih Bukhari? He compiled 600,000 hadith from those 1,000 sheikh over 16 years. So guess how many hadith are there in Sahih Bukhari? How many? Oh, how many do you think? How many hadith he selected from those 600,000 hadith in his book? 84 what? No. 7,000, exactly. It's 7,200 something. And those hadith have some commonality. Some of them are actually replicated. So if you take away all the replication and you just take the ahadith that are unique in their matan, in the statement of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you would come down to almost 2,800. Those were the ahadith that constitute Sahih Bukhari. But see what he did, rahimahullah ta'ala. He said, Wallahi, there wasn't a single hadith that I would add to Sahih al-Bukhari except that I make wudu and make salat al-istikhara after doing all the due diligence to make sure that everything in the hadith is accurate and that the chain is so authentic. And then he would place it in the Sahih. So how many times did he do istikhara? Over 7,000 times. Just to create that book that we have it. 16 years traveling everywhere and collecting the hadith. And Imam Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala was not just the person who would go and listen to the mashayikh or the ulama and just write it down and compile it, because, well, even that would be very difficult. But Imam al-Bukhari was known to be, what they call the photographic memory. You know that? You know what that means? So once when he rahimahullah ta'ala finished from his trip, going everywhere to collect the ahadith from over 1,000 scholars, he went back to Samarkand. And upon his arrival, the ulama were always waiting for this man, for this scholar to come back. And they wanted to test him. In fact, before they tested him, 3 of the most important, significant scholars in the history of Islam have tested him, including Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Yahya ibn Ma'in, rahimahumullah ta'ala. But he then went to Samarkand, and everyone was just waiting for this man because he was the first to author this type of book. So what happened was that the scholars of hadith, and they, by the way, all this area, Iran and Khurasan and Bukhara and all this area was full of huffaz, full of huffaz. Like most of our hadith scholars were from that area. I mean, you name it. Imam At-Tirmidhi, Imam Al-Nasa'i, Imam Ibn Majah, Imam Ad-Daraqutni. I mean, you name the scholar name and you would find him from that area. SubhanAllah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put barakah in those people. So when he went back to Samarkand, the ulama came and they wanted to celebrate his arrival, but at the same time they wanted to make sure that he deserved it, right? So what did they do? They made a test in front of the public. They brought 10 of their scholars, and for each one they said, you will test him with 10 ahadith. So how many in total? 10 multiplied by 10, it's 100 hadith. But the way they did it is that they mixed the hadith with each other. So they mixed the chain, the hadith sounds something like this. حدثنا مسدد قال حدثنا سفيان قال حدثنا أحمد قال حدثنا, and he would say, I was told by A, and then he was told by B, and then he was told by C, all the way to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So what they did, they mixed between all those chains. So for example, a hadith that goes A, B, C, D, and then another one that go X, Y, Z. So they took the X, they placed it with the B, and they took the C, they put it in the Y, and they made a big mess. And they asked those imams to go in front of Imam al-Bukhari, in front of the public, and ask Imam al-Bukhari, did you hear this hadith? And they would say the hadith with a wrong chain, but with a correct statement. So every time they ask him, 10 scholars, everyone would ask him 10 questions, and every time they ask him, he would say, I never heard this hadith. People did not know what was going on, and they thought, well, this is the most ignorant scholar who ever came to Samarkand, and why are we making all this for him? And then once they finished, Imam Bukhari said, dear brother, and he pointed to the first scholar who came. He said, you told me 10 ahadith. You told me this hadith, and he repeated the hadith with the wrong chain that he mentioned. And he said, the correct one is this. And you told me the second hadith with the wrong chain. So not only that he corrected the chains, but he also memorized the wrong chains that they have told him from the first time. That's called photographic memory, right? So that was Imam al-Bukhari. If you have doubt in someone like Bukhari, you should understand what it meant for him to be a blessed person, to be a pious person, and to have that talent, subhanAllah. Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala, when he grew up in his early days, he finished memorizing Quran before he became 10 years old. And at the age of 10, he started to memorize the hadith. And subhanAllah, his father passed away at an early age. So he was an orphan. And who was the one taking care of him? Of course, the mother, rahimahumullah. But his father was a scholar, also a scholar in hadith. So what is the name of Imam al-Bukhari? Anyone knows? Huh? His name was Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Bukhari. So his name is Muhammad, his father's name was Ismail. So Ismail rahimahullah ta'ala was a scholar, not very well-known scholar obviously, but he passed away when Muhammad Ismail was still young. But even before he passed away, people have observed how talented this young boy is. And not only talented, but has barakah. There is barakah in him. They would see him in the masajid, they would see him with khair, the khair that he brings everywhere he goes. So they asked the father, they said, Ya Imam, what did you do to grow your son like this? Still at an early age. Guess what he said? He said, Wallahi, I don't have nothing. I don't know nothing special that I did for my son except one thing. Throughout my entire life, I made sure that not a single dirham would get into our home except that it is coming from halal source. That's the barakah. You know, in today's time, many people say we should be eating the biha, right? We cannot eat haram food, and that's very important. But what is more important is the money that you buy this dhabiha. Is the money itself halal? That's even way more important than just eating dhabiha. And subhanallah, you would find that all those ulama al-mubarakeen has a common factor, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed them in houses that was full of khair and barakah, that they grew up eating and consuming all halal. I'm not talking about the biha versus not the biha. I'm saying that the food itself only came through halal earning. Everything that they earned was coming purely halal. So, subhanAllah, he passed away, and then this son started to learn the hadith, and he became so popular. One of the things that we need to understand about the Imam al-Bukhari was, subhanAllah, how much he attached himself to the scholars, that not only that he would go and seek the knowledge, but also he would try to test and make sure that those scholars are really trustworthy. One of the narrations says, although the narration may not be very strong, but it says that he heard about, he was looking for hadith, and he heard that someone in another village knows this hadith with a chain, with his chain. So he wanted to get, so he knows the hadith, Imam Bukhari, but he wanted to get the chain. He wanted to hear it from someone who can tell him, I heard it from my shaykh, and my shaykh heard it from that shaykh, all the way to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he traveled to get that one hadith that he already know. So when he found this shaykh, he was working with his horse to I don't know what he was doing, but the horse was rebel. The horse was not abiding, was not listening. So it was going everywhere, jumping all around. So that sheikh wanted to get the hold of the horse. So what he did, he brought his thawb, or his, I'm sorry. So he brought his izar. We call this, if a person wears two pieces, then the lower one is called izar. So he was bringing his izar like this. So the horse thought that there was some food. So the horse came, but when the horse became so close, he was able to get hold of him, but there was no food. Imam al-Bukhari refused to take the hadith from him. He said, if you are lying to this animal, I don't know if you are lying to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Imam Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala was one of a kind. I mean, his taqwa, his wara', his photographic memory, his talents, and mashallah, his dedication and devotion was extraordinary in every aspect. And you could not even have a single flow about Imam Bukhari. So let's talk a bit more now about the book itself. The book, again, had about 7,000 hadith with the repetition, about 2,700 without repetition. And the first book, the first chapter, he calls every chapter book. That's how he calls it. In Arabic, he would call, for example, the whole thing is called what? Sahih Bukhari, right? the very first chapter is called Kitabu Bad'il Wahi, the book of the early revelation, right? And so he calls the chapter as Kitab. That's how we say it in Arabic. Anyway, so the very first Kitab or chapter in the book is called Bad'il Wahi, which means the beginning of the revelation. Guess what is the first hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari? Anyone knows? Yes, mashallah. Exactly. So Imam al-Bukhari, the very first hadith was the hadith that he narrated with the authority of Umar ibn al-Khattab rahimahullah, or radiyallahu anhu wa arda, which says, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَى فمن كانت هجرته إلى الله ورسوله فهجرته إلى الله ورسوله ومن كانت هجرته إلى دنيا يصيبها أو امرأة ينكحها فهجرته إلى ما هاجر إليه. The hadith is a common hadith that most of the scholars after Imam al-Bukhari started to introduce their books with. And you know why? Because it talks about ikhlas. It talks about sincerity. So most of the scholars after Imam al-Bukhari has placed this hadith in his as the first hadith, although it is not related to the book itself or the chapter, right? Because the chapter says the beginning of the revelation. So this hadith is not really related to that. It could be placed somewhere else, but he did choose to place it there to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for sincerity. So after him, most of the ulama would start their books with that hadith. Okay, so what is the last hadith in Sahih Bukhari? Anyone knows? That's a big one. The last hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari is the hadith where Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Kalimatani habibatani ila ar-Rahman, khafifatani ala al-lisan, thaqilatani fil mizan, subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanallah al-azim." This is the last hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, which says that there are two words that are beloved to Ar-Rahman subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are light on your tongue but heavy on the scale. Subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanallah al-azim. It's as if, subhanallah, that when Imam Bukhari has finished everything, he's like, it's time to remember Allah. Let's get back to subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanallah al-azim. Although there is a chapter that talks about adhkar and everything, but he did choose to place that at the end so that he would remind everyone that the best thing that you could do during your day or night is to continue uttering the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's actually one of the things that you can see as how Imam al-Bukhari was different from the other Imams of Hadith. So let me be more specific here. Most of the Imams of Hadith, like Imam Muslim, Imam al-Tirmidhi, Nasa'i, they would be very interested in just making the organization of the book according to the Hadith itself and the subjects of the Hadith. So they are more interested in the science of Hadith. Imam al-Bukhari was a faqih as well, and was a murabbi, was someone who would go above and beyond just Hadith. And that is why the titles of the chapters in Sahih Bukhari, in many cases, are fiqh rulings. They have things that are not related even. They are among the things that he deduced from the ahadith. Like he would summarize the ahadith, he would give you the Islamic ruling on things. So, for example, Imam al-Bukhari would talk, for example, about the awrah of a man. Is it until the knee, or is it to the middle of your thigh? And there are two ahadith in Sahih Bukhari. One of them that says that Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam talked about the awrah, that it should go all the way to the knee. And in another hadith, he also mentioned that he ﷺ was at a water well along with some of the companions, and part of his thigh was exposed. And then Uthman radiallahu anhu came. And when Uthman came, he covered it. So they asked him, Ya Rasulullah, why did you cover it because of Uthman? He ﷺ said, أَلَا أَسْتَحِي مِنْ رَجُلٍ تَسْتَحِي مِنْهُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. Shall I not, astahi, is it shy? So he ﷺ wanted to show more respect even to Uthman radiallahu anhu, because of how he said that the malaika themselves feel the same. So he covered it up. So Imam al-Bukhari would talk about those two hadith, that yes, there is and he talked about the difference of opinion between the scholars, because as you know, in Hanbali madhab it's up to here, but the remaining of the madhab, it goes to the knee. And Imam al-Bukhari would say that the hadith of Uthman radiallahu anhu is more authentic, but the other hadith that talks about the knee is ahwat. Ahwat means that it at least it puts you in the safe side, so that you don't have to take a risk. So Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala was known for his knowledge not only in hadith but also in his fiqh. And actually the way that he would place the hadith within the different chapters is that the hadith itself may be narrated in the chapter of zakat, and then again in the chapter of raqaq, and then in the third chapter. And the reason he would do this is because he would find that the same hadith maybe you may focus on multiple aspects of it. So when he focuses on, for example, one of the fiqh ruling that is pertaining zakat, he would place it under the zakat chapter. When it talks about how he ﷺ humbled himself, he would place it under a riqaq. And that's why I said there are some repetitions. The repetitions was done by Imam al-Bukhari for a purpose, because he wanted to make sure that when you look for the zakat, for example, chapter, you will find all the ahadith that are related, even if one of the ahadith may belong to another chapter. Maybe I take a minute to just hear if there's any questions, inshallah. I mean, I'm continuing, but just so that you, if you have a question, you can say it now.
I've got two questions, Sheikh. What's the name of the last chapter, the last book?
The last chapter, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the Al-I'tisam bil-Kitab wa Sunnah, if I'm not mistaken. I need to just refresh my memory, but I think it is Al-I'tisam bil-Kitab wa Sunnah. I think that was the one. Wallahu a'lam.
And the second question is regarding the science of the hadith in regards to the chain. Did Imam Bukhari, did he sort of refine that? Was he conscious of the chain, meaning if someone related to someone else, was there figuring out the probability that yes, they were in the same city at the same time, those kinds of things?
So I think it was agreed upon between scholars what constitutes an authentic hadith, but they differed on like the least amount, but then they differed if they they require more or not. So for example, all of them, they said for any a hadith to be authentic, there need to be 5 conditions. First is that everyone, that the chain is connected, that there's no missing one. And connected means that that everyone has heard from the one who he says, I heard it from. Because what happens is, let's say, what's your name, Akhi? Adil. So let's say Riza has heard something from Adil, right? And then Reza told me that Adil said that. And what's your name, Akhi? Zahir. So I go to Zahir and I tell Zahir, Adil said so and so. Did I miss someone? The one who told me. Adil didn't tell me that directly, right? So I skipped someone. And so that makes the hadith weak. If you skip someone, it makes it weak. So they have a rule that the chain has to be connected in a way that every person has lived at the same time and at the same place at some time in certain period with the one who he heard from. That's the minimum. Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala increases another condition on that, where he says, I want him to tell me exactly and explicitly that I heard it from his tongue directly. Because I could live in what is this place here called Spring. I could have lived in Spring, and I could have lived with the same time of Riza, Ibrahim, but perhaps that particular hadith I did not hear it from Ibrahim. I heard it from Riza, taking it from Ibrahim. So Imam al-Bukhari says it's not enough that, for example, Abdurrahman and Ibrahim have lived in the same place at the same time. No, I want Abdurrahman to say, I heard it directly from this. And that's why in hadith, in Sahih al-Bukhari, you would find Imam al-Bukhari saying, حدثنا أو أخبرنا. In other books, you would hear the word an. So for example, he would say حدثنا الحميدي قال حدثنا سفيان قال حدثنا ابن منصور. So everyone is saying حدثنا, which means I explicitly heard it from this man. But in other books, you would see something like حدثنا الحميدي عن سفيان عن المنصور. عن means on the authority of. So I would say, what's your name again? So Brother Zahir would say, حدثنا عبد الرحمن عن رضا عن عادل, right? It could be حدثنا عبد الرحمن عن عادل directly, right? So what tells you if Abd al-Rahman has heard it really from Adil? If you say an, it doesn't tell you that. But you would see, so the ulama come to check something, which is, have they lived in the same time? Have they lived in the same city? Was there a chance for them to meet and to learn from each other? That's how the other ulama. Imam al-Bukhari adds another condition, that there has to be an explicit mentioning that I heard it directly from the imam. So the first one is to get this chain connected. The second one is that every single person in that chain has to be hafiz. You know what hafiz means? Hafiz is not hafiz Quran. One of the things that really makes me feel angry is that we are using the terminology that was used in the past to say something very different. Today's time, hafiz means hafiz al-Quran. Hafiz in their time means someone who can narrate the hadith without a single mistake. Just like how some of our huffaz, mashallah, are very strong on Quran. In their time, they need to have the same strength in the science of hadith. That's how Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala was. Remember the 100 wrong narrations, he corrected them, and he even memorized the wrong ones, and he told them the correct ones for yours are the so and so. So that's what hafiz. So the five conditions for any hadith to be sahih, connecting the connected chain. Second one is that every single person in that chain has to be hafiz. Hafiz, and hafiz here again, not hafiz Quran, hafiz the hadith. And then the third one is that every single one of them is thiqa. Thiqa, trustworthy. And thiqa means someone who has amana, has a greatness in their heart, and they are known for all khair, and they have never been seen or convicted or accused of something wrong. And I want to tell you to what level they went. In their time, of course, there's a sunnah of Rasulullah ﷺ that he would that he was never seen with his head uncovered outside of his home. There's authentic hadith about this. He ﷺ never left his home uncovering his head, never in his life. But at home he would take it off, right? And that's why there's a difference of opinion between scholars. Is covering the head required for salah or not? Because some of them narrated that he ﷺ, when he would pray at home, he may pray with his head uncovered. So they said he was covering his head not because of the salah, but because of going outside, and it was part of the urf, meaning that it was a consensus that everyone would do it. So he ﷺ doesn't like to be different. Regardless of this is more of a fiqh matter. The important one is that those scholars of hadith, they say, if someone goes out of their home uncovering their head, they will not take the hadith from. They will not. Because they say he is doing something against what Rasulullah ﷺ did. I'll tell you even further. You know, many of us, when we get hungry, we may go to a restaurant, or maybe we can go to a coffee shop and take something, and they may have some setup outside the place. Maybe they have some trees, and then or some nice setup, nice tables and chairs, and you would like to breathe some fresh air, right? We do it most of the time. Halal? Yes, halal. Is it halal to go uncovering your head? Yes, it is halal. No, there's no sin in that. But here's the thing. They say that if someone eats or drinks in front of others who are not eating or drinking, then they will never take hadith from. They call this khawarim al-muru'ah. They say that if someone is willing to drink or eat in front of people, when it may happen that some needy one, some hungry person may pass by and see that one eating and feel that he wish he can be in his place, then that is causing harm to the Muslims, and that is a reason for them not to take hadith from. Yeah. That's how our scholars talked about the hadith. That's why our hadith are so gold in every aspect, that no one can attack them. I mean, the only way they attack a hadith is if they tell us about something that we cannot understand because of our ignorance, and that's where people feel, oh, maybe I should not trust this. But if someone knows what the hadith and how our ulama have worked on them, they will find that this is actually a gold after gold. So I did mention connected chain. Every single person is hafiz. Every single person is thiqa. And then neither the statement nor the chain should have shudud, and neither of them should have illah. Those are the last two. And very quickly, inshallah, maybe I can explain that at a later time on the science of hadith. But what the second last one says is that there isn't anything within the hadith, the statement or the chain, that may give you a feeling that it is incorrect, and not a feeling this is for the scholars, not for everyone else. So, for example, they say there's the hadith in which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has bought a camel from another person, and he made a condition. He said, I sell you my camel, but I want to use my camel to go back to Medina. This is the authentic hadith in the Sahih. So that part is authentic. But then the hadith came with multiple narrations about the cost. How much did he ﷺ sell that camel for? So that cost portion, they call it has illah, because there were multiple narrations and each one said something different. But does that mean that the entire hadith is wrong? No. Because what is agreed upon is that he ﷺ sold the camel, and how are we doing with time?
Couple of moments.
Okay, so he sold the camel and he made a condition that he will still continue use the camel until he gets back to Medina. So من غير علة, that's a illah. So if there's a illah, it makes the hadith, or at least a portion of the hadith, not authentic. And من غير شذوذ, it means that the hadith, even if it looks or it sounds like accurate and authentic, it should not conflict with another hadith that is even more authentic. I give you a very clear example. There's a hadith in the Sunan that says, لا تصوموا السبت إلا فيما افترض عليكم. Do not fast the day of Saturday except if it is a fard, like in Ramadan, for example. So this hadith is sahih, is authentic, but has a problem because it actually conflicts with another hadith that is more authentic. So what is the other hadith that is more authentic? It's a hadith in Bukhari, in which Rasulullah came back to his home and he found Aisha fasting the day of Friday. He asked her, did you fast the day before? She said no. He said, are you fasting the day after? She said no. He said, then you should break your fast. What does that mean? If she were willing to fast the next day, which is what? Saturday, then she is fine. Right? So because here we have two authentic hadith, one in Bukhari and another one in the Sunan. Sunan means in Sunan al-Tirmidhi, I think it's Sunan al-Tirmidhi, wallahu alam. So both of them are authentic, but one is more authentic. So we call the other one in the Sunan, we call it shadh. Shadh means that it conflicts with something that is more accurate. And that renders the hadith weak. From the chain perspective, it's authentic, but the content itself may have a problem. So that's how all those ulama have agreed upon that unless you have those five, you cannot claim the hadith is authentic. And this was from the time of Imam al-Bukhari. Yes. Yeah. Yes, Habib. He said that I heard Rasulullah saying it. Yeah. So, but it's a very valid question. The brother is asking, what defines a hadith? Hadith is one of four things. Either a statement he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or an act he did, or a description of him, or an incident that has happened in his time, he heard about it, and he either approved it or disapproved it. So they call it قول أو فعل أو وصف أو إقرار. Those are the four types of hadith. قول is his sayings, فعل his actions, وصف his description. Like for example, there are a hadith that talks about how white he was, his black hair. أو إقرار. إقرار means something that has happened and he approved it. And approved it means that he did not say, he did not object it. Why is that a hadith? Because he ﷺ would never be silent if something wrong happens. He has to say. Yeah. So Alhamdulillah, I hope I gave a little bit about Imam al-Bukhari and Sahih al-Bukhari that gives you an incentive to even learn more, inshallah. I actually learned Sahih al-Bukhari through multiple mashayikh, and I have been teaching Sahih al-Bukhari in Arabic for the past over 15 years. But I did teach it in Arabic because it's very, very detailed and very deep, and I could not make it in English. But this is one of the things we can, inshallah, do, inshallah, at a future time, where we can do it in English, or at least go on some of the chapters that are relevant to our life in today's time, inshallah, and learn it from Sahih Bukhari. And I hope, inshallah, when we meet on the following Sundays, we can talk about something similar, and then we can decide if you want to go, for example, on one of those books of hadith, or on one of those books of aqidah, or whatever, inshallah, we can do it. I want to tell you, inshallah, that I'm a big fan of connecting ourselves to our old scholars. I'm a big fan of us connecting to Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad Hanbal, to those Imams of Hadith like Imam al-Bukhari, Muslim, Imam Abu Dawood, Tirmidhi, Nasai, Ibn Majah, Darimi, Daraqutni, Ahmad Hanbal, and so on. And the reason for this is because, subhanAllah, the ulama have said, خذ العلم عمن مات فإن الحي لا تؤمن عليه الفتنة. That if you were to seek knowledge, true knowledge, then take it from someone who already passed away and the whole ummah have received them in a very good status, meaning that they have accepted them. Like those 4 imams, for example, like our imams in hadith, the whole ummah have accepted them, even if they differ in their opinion. But the one who is still alive, you never know. They may flip at one day. Allah, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has said, "Al-qulubu bayna usbu'ayni min asabi' ar-Rahman, yuqallibuhuma kayfa yasha." That the hearts of believers are between 2 fingers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And again, we don't know how these fingers, but this is what the verbatim statement of the hadith, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would change them or swap them the way they like, the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes. So a person might be today a believer and tomorrow may be a disbeliever, or vice versa. And this may happen to anyone. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us steadfastness. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to connect us to the original and authentic ulama and scholars. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to use us in spreading the word and making the best out of da'wah. Allahumma ameen. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. جزاكم الله خير.